Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching this brief ag forecast brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. We're going to start off here by looking at the last 72 hours worth of total accumulated precipitation, and right along this stalled boundary right in through here, we've seen a lot of severe weather, especially coming out of lower Michigan, hit several times by severe storms, and also this part of Ontario near London. We've had some storms later in the day today here across parts of Wisconsin, and we're going to watch them blow up here in a few minutes in this part of Pennsylvania. That's all along this stalled boundary that's curled up into a low that's moving out into Canada. We have a low that's following it that's already put down some precipitation here in parts of the upper Midwest, in parts of the Great Plains, and in parts of the Western Corn Belt. And of course, we're going to be watching for the heavy rains to be continuing to push on shore here from Tropical Storm Nicholas. Where we're going to see a lot of change in this map is going to be in the Pacific Northwest, where we're going to see this pattern shifting to a deeper trough in the Northwest, introducing a lot of rainfall. So let's go ahead and take a look next at what our current satellite imagery looks like. And as we watch the end of the day here, there's the sun setting on the East Coast. We can see a few things here. We're still dealing with our West Coast wildfires in California and running up right here on the Cascades as well. And some of that smoke, as you can see, has made it all the way to the East Coast. So this would be smoke from the western U.S. wildfires. But we have Nicholas, still a strong tropical storm that's going to just slowly, over the next 3 days, move here across parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama before getting up into parts of the Appalachian Mountains and the Tennessee Valley. Here's our low that's moving toward the Great Lakes very quickly and will exit into the Northeast quite fast. But still on that boundary, some strong storms just erupted right in through here. In fact, I was watching them using one of my favorite resources, Blitzertongue. So we have the storms from the system that follows, and then the storms on the lead boundary. And we can see here quite a bit of lightning in these storms going across parts of Pennsylvania. Now, the bigger picture is seen by looking at some of the surface winds, okay? Here's Nicholas. We'll talk about that more in a few moments. There's the frontal boundary to the south of the low that's pulling right up here, about to cross the Mississippi and head to the Great Lakes. Strong offshore winds in California, but take a look at what's upstream of all of this. You see, if I were to spin this around and show you the Pacific, I've got 1, 2, and then this typhoon. There's 3 large low pressure systems that are here in the North Pacific. And each of them is a consequence of an overall pattern shift that we saw lately. Let me explain what I'm talking about. From mid-July through mid-August, the pattern established with a large ridge over the west and a large ridge that built up here into the North Atlantic. And what happened is in between there was a trough that extended into this area. So this was what was responsible for that extreme heat we saw in the west. Well, from mid-August till now, this is how the pattern has shifted. We've built this downstream block right here, just north of the UK. That's allowed for deeper troughs to develop on this side of the Arctic Ocean, and with higher pressure, generally speaking, to the south of it, the jet stream has been cranked and really coming across the United States like this. And the net effect of this is to continue to toss those troughs around this deeper trough, okay, short waves around a long wave is what this is, right here parked in this part of the Arctic. So let me show you what I'm talking about. This animation is from the GFS Ensemble, the 12Z run today. And what you're going to notice is, look at this. They're just all lined up right here. And there's a downstream block over Scandinavia, a big ridge. Are you ready? So through Wednesday, working our way out toward the end of the week, there's the first of a deep trough that moves through the Canadian prairie. We'll show you the low pressure for that in a moment. Here's the second one. It sweeps into the northwest this weekend, and that is a well-established deep trough while the ridge builds here over the eastern half of the country. So we're going to be seeing higher pressure and hotter temperatures here as well. But there's another trough waiting in the wings, and that one sweeps around too. See it right here? And this pattern just stays open with relatively high momentum across the Pacific. So by day 10, this is what it looks like. And that pattern where troughs continue to sweep through are going to keep things active across the northern tier of the U.S. Now, south of that, coming out of the Atlantic, we have Nicholas. I'll show you that in a moment. But before I do, keep an eye here on what could possibly develop just off the coast and run up along the coast. We have an 80%, in fact, let's just hover. There we go, an 80% chance that this develops. And some of the long-range models keep this pretty far to the south of the subtropical ridge here. And this could be a system that, should it develop into this area by the time we get into next week, we'll be talking about maybe being a player for the East Coast. But I'm just going to put a question mark on it. We're too far out to really give a lot of detail. But Nicholas would be the one we need to analyze. And the latest update here, this should be the evening update. There it is, the 4 p.m. update. You notice that from today on Monday evening all the way through Thursday afternoon, we're only going to move from eastern Texas to Mississippi. This is out of strong steering current, and therefore it's going to move relatively slowly and as a consequence put down some very very heavy rainfall. And that's what we're looking at here. This is the 12Z European model. There's the potential for 2 to 15 inches of rain out of this. We will not know how much rain, even though it's already started, we will not know how much rain falls out of this until we nowcast it, following the radar and where the heaviest rain bands come in. But the potential here is anywhere from 3 to 15 inches of rain. And don't forget, this is an area that is still cleaning up, and there's still power outages from Hurricane Ida. On the wind side of it, we are not expecting these winds to be that strong. Gusts 50 to 70 miles an hour are possible, but the tropical storm force winds only extend about that far inland. All right. This is all the way through next Tuesday that we're looking out here. So you can see that that's the main event, and it's going to be primarily confined to Texas. From here, bigger picture. The European model through the next 10 days start from the west. The trough arrives this weekend. The winds are going to come straight out of the west, which means they line up perpendicular to the mountain ranges. That's why the rain shadow effect will be quite strong. But we're expecting several inches of rain and some snow at the peaks of these mountains here in the Cascades and over here in the northern Rockies. We have the system going in this direction right now, plus another one that follows it, increasing the chances of getting at least an inch of rain there. And then this would be from the remnants of Nicholas spreading into the Tennessee Valley into the Appalachian Mountains. Our other tropical system, as you see, stays offshore. Okay, from there, I would like to show you the latest update from the WPC. So this is their total precip through the next 7 days. And just take a moment and pause it, take a look at your region, but you'll see those moving pieces I just discussed here and where we're expecting our heaviest rainfall amounts. In the near term, we were watching this area today for the threat for severe storms, and we're also going to be keeping an eye back here as well. This is your day one convective outlook, which concludes tonight on Monday. In Tuesday, the front slides farther to the east, so we're going to hit that same area that it got hit with a lot of severe storms in the last 16 hours or so here in lower Michigan and in this part of Ontario. We got another shot at it tomorrow. And the tail of that front extends pretty far back into Kansas. And on day 3, the front still moves to the east very slowly. And that's where we're going to be watching out for the severe storms. So using the 18Z NAM run, let's just get this to about 6 o'clock. There's the storms. The models did an excellent job forecasting. Here's the storms coming out of South Dakota into Minnesota, and the broad rain shield coming from Nicholas. Now, as we play this forward, what you're going to see is through the overnight hours, the first low moves over Lake Superior. Nicholas continues to produce heavy rain along the coast here, getting into Louisiana. And then into tomorrow, watch the front jump out tomorrow afternoon and evening. We'll stop it at 7 p.m. Central. There's the position of your front. We're going to watch for storms there. There is the precip shield for Nicholas, and there could be some scatter rain in the Puget Sound. And as you know, that front is going to continue to progress through Wednesday morning, getting into Wednesday afternoon and evening over toward the East Coast, where we're going to watch for severe storms here as the eastern side of Nicholas spreads rain into parts of Alabama and to Georgia as well. So that's your near-term forecast. Just see, though, that where this heavy rain's coming through, over the last month, we've had very heavy rainfall in this area from Fred and from Ida, and we're going to add more to it. This statistic will change very quickly down here in Texas as we get the heavy rain added into it. And with the fronts coming through, we're going to see wetter conditions here. But where all that rain moved through today and heading in the overnight hours into Minnesota, this is a massive shift over what we saw in the end of May, June, July, and beginning of August, over in some places like this reporting district here in South Dakota as it's wettest on record. And this is all going to change in a big way as the heavier rains come in. Let's give you a better instance here on the timing, okay? So we've already seen out to Wednesday evening. So let's go into Thursday morning. Here's our next low. It's going to drag a front through the upper Midwest while we still continue to see Nicholas spinning down here in Louisiana. So this is Thursday morning, getting into the afternoon and evening time period. By Friday, that front gets dragged right through that same area that's been wet. And we notice that by Friday, the deeper trough becomes established in the Pacific Northwest and really introduces the heavier precipitation into this region as well. And as you also notice, right down through here, we have a lingering front on which we could get some more precipitation. From here on out, this is all about to next Saturday, you're going to see this pattern setting up. Generally speaking, the midsection of the country next weekend drier. Daily afternoon convection everywhere inside of that area I just drew, and the deeper lows coming into the Pacific Northwest. So if we kind of stitch this all together, this is the next 7 days by the European model. So we already saw the WPC. This is the European model, and to be honest with you, the GFS is very consistent overall with the pattern that we're going to see here for the next 7 days. By day 10, we have our trough in position here. But the pattern is open and it is moving with these shorter waves. The deeper wave is over the Arctic, and therefore they're going to move. And as a consequence, the week 2 precipitation pattern favors better chances for above average precipitation here. That's what we're seeing out there for week 2. Temperature side of things, let's walk through this relatively quickly here for the next week. This was Monday's high, so we've already seen these. Here's Tuesday. Getting into Wednesday, Thursday, and over that time period, all of the cooler weather here is cloud cover. The heat to the north is under the ridge, and watch the deeper trough come into the northwest. Ready? There's Friday, watch, Saturday, Sunday. So the heat comes back on in a big way in the Central Plains, while the trough digs in here, and the Central Valley of California on Sunday may struggle to get out of the 70s. What a swing in temperatures. Day 5 through 10, let's shrink this up so we can see it. We're cooler in the northwest. All the heat pushes into the east. And there'll be a transition in between where we're going to watch for that wetter pattern to develop right in through here, remember? Now the question is, will we see a frost threat in this area? And I looked out there to the end of September. While I don't see a lot of high probability of temperatures below freezing, getting the temperature into the low 40s, into the mid 30s is a possibility. Because as we notice, getting out there day 10 through 15, we continue to see that area favoring possibly some cooler conditions. And it's that time of year. I mean, this is almost the end of the month. 15 days from now, it's the 28th. So we should expect to see frost in this area by that time of the month. So we're going to watch it very carefully to see when it shows up in the near-term forecast. What I'm going to finish with is 2 things. Let's go out there and look at the long-range forecast, and we're going to start with what we had already forecast. You see, this is the 13th of September to the 13th of October, and the models picked up on this, the drier weather here, and the wetter weather in there very well. They've been consistent. Now, this is the hurricane, or the tropical storm, sorry. But what I want to do is I want to fast forward you. Let's just add another week to this. Why don't we go from the equinox on September 21st out to October 21st? And we continue to see above normal precipitation for a lot of the U.S. Now, what this isn't is this is not a big ridge here and a big ridge here and the flow around it doing something like this, parking a stationary front on which we get torrential rain. Nope. This is troughs building into ridges. You can see that if I show you the temperature pattern. Okay? See the cooler weather here? That's the trough. And the ridge on this side. It's a persistent pattern. So this is not the type of pattern that produces massively disruptive harvest weather, which is good news. But as we look longer term, I gave you those long-range updates last week. I just want to let you know, Southern Oscillation Index is back positive, above 7. We still have our cooler water emerging here, and we're still expecting a moderate, weak to moderate La Nina to develop this fall and winter. So none of that has really changed in this forecast. So we'll wrap it up there. Have a good rest of your week, and we'll talk to you on Thursday. Thanks.